So if I were to ask you, how many of you have seen the old, original 1986 Karate Kid movie? Would most of you have seen this? So you know the story. The story is about Daniel and his mom, and they moved from New Jersey to California because she has a job, and she's a single mom, and so just the two of them. And they arrive, and unfortunately, things go bad for Daniel immediately, right? Because there are bullies in the school. And they are they're members of a karate club called the Cobra Kai, and they just start beating him up all the time. And the leader of the Cobra Kai is this guy who trains his students to be aggressive, to be physical, to beat up people first. No mercy is the message that he brings. And so the students just live that out. They live out the message of their teacher, and they just keep beating Daniel up. And it gets so bad that on Halloween night, he is captured by these guys, and they are really letting him have it. And then all of a sudden, the maintenance owner, the maintenance guy in the building where he's at, Mr. Miyagi, jumps over the fence, and it turns out he's a master in karate. And he pummels the bad guys, takes them all out. And Daniel sees this, he's amazed, and so he begs him, please teach me, please teach me, please teach me. And so Mr. Miyagi agrees, and you know the story. He goes to that dojo and he says, tell your people to leave Daniel alone for the next 2 months. I'll train him, and then you can fight him at this tournament. And then, so he does, they wait, because he doesn't think they'll have a chance. And they go to the tournament, and of course, Daniel wins. And not only does he win the tournament, he even wins the respect of the bad guy who gives him the trophy and tells him you're okay. And it's like, wow, this is awesome. And so, great movie. So my wife and I had this movie on, I don't know, sometime in the last couple of months on a Sunday afternoon. We were both just working, and all of a sudden my wife goes, hey, there's some real spiritual themes in this movie. And she starts talking about those, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, you're exactly right. There are some real spiritual themes, because this is a movie, it's not a movie about sweep the leg, okay? That's not what the movie's about. This is a movie about transformation. Daniel goes from the beginning of the movie from being victim to victor, right? It's a transformation movie. He goes from being the defeated to the winner. And how he goes through it is really, really critical spiritually, because he goes through it through a word that the Bible uses all the time called discipleship. He becomes the disciple of Mr. Miyagi. And in that discipleship relationship, he is transformed, like I said, from defeated to the victor. It's all through discipleship. So the interesting thing is my wife and I started talking about the themes in the movie and how clear this all was. It was like, wow, this is fascinating, because if you know anything about the New Testament, if you've ever read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or the book right after, the book of Acts, 261 times in those 5 books, it uses that word. 261 times. As a matter of fact, Jesus' last words to his disciples when he's ascending into heaven is he says, here's what I want you to do. Go and make church attenders of all nations. No, not at all. He said, I want you to go make disciples. Go and make disciples. And he had the expectation that when you become a disciple of Jesus, it will transform your whole life. Matter of fact, look at this verse from Jesus. Look at this. Jesus said, the student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. Do you hear what he's saying here? That part in yellow? He's saying, you, if you become my disciple, will literally become little Jesuses running around here on earth. So I have 2 questions for you. When was the last time somebody came up to you and said, hey, Jesus, sorry, I thought you were Jesus. So when was the last time you were confused for Jesus? Some of you are like, well, that probably never happened, right? It never happened with me. Nobody's ever thought I was Jesus. But he says, they will, when they're fully trained, they will be like their teacher, will be like Jesus is here on earth. But here's the other question is, what area of your life is God actively working in today to transform? Because transformation is the outcome of discipleship. So the reality is, discipleship isn't a common topic in American Christianity. It was a very common topic in Jesus' conversation. It's just not talked about very often in our society. And the result is what you see, Christians who don't look any different than everybody else. Super important subject today. So we're starting a brand new series today called Everyday Disciple. We're going to spend weeks talking about what this actually means. We're going to start with something really fun today. We're going to talk about how to experience real transformation through discipleship. That's what I want to show you. I want to ask you to open up your program, take your notes out, grab a pen. There'll be some things you can write down today. If you're watching online, watching on YouTube, first off, welcome. We love to hear the messages that you write. We're so grateful that so many people are watching. If you go to our website at penuelchurchlife.com, you can get the notes as well to go along with this. So much to go through. I'm actually going to get through everything today, which is amazing. So here we go. First thing is you have to see the value in what the master is offering, because otherwise discipleship will never happen. So you got to see the value in what the master is offering. So in the movie, the value is apparent right here, right? As he watches Mr. Miyagi trash the bad guys, Daniel is laying on the ground and he's seeing this and he's like, oh my goodness, I need you. I need you. He knows that if he can become the disciple of Mr. Miyagi, that there's hope for his future. That he can find freedom from the bad guys. He can find safety in a world that's not safe at all. He wants everything that comes from being the disciple of Mr. Miyagi. So he sees the value and he's willing to pay the price once he sees the value. It's like, right? Okay, so the question then is, what's the value of becoming a disciple of Jesus? Okay, the good news is the value of becoming a disciple of Jesus is you get to attend a church service once in a while, and you get to occasionally have a potluck, and once in a while, ice cream after church. So there you go. It's like, yeah, sign me up. Thankfully, no. I could show so many verses. I just want to show you these 4. Look at what Jesus said is the value of making him the master of your life. Jesus said, I've come that they may have life and have it to the full. So fullness of life. He said, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. So there's incredible freedom. You don't have to be mastered by a substance. You don't have to be mastered by your past. There's freedom. Then he said, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. In other words, your life will have purpose. And you will experience the activity of God working through you to change a world that you can't change on your own. And on top of that, he said, oh, by the way, everything's possible for the one who believes. As your confidence in the master grows, you literally will be unlimited because the power of God himself is yours. And there's a power sharing. That's what prayer is about, sharing power with God. So just to be clear, these are just some of the many things he says: fullness of life, freedom, purpose, and power. This is just some of what he says is available to us. It's really transformation. Matter of fact, I was reminded that this week, if you know anything about North Korea and what it's like to be a Christian in North Korea, is that good or is that safe or not safe, right? You all know this, right? North Korea, it is illegal to be a Christian. If you're a Christian there, you're literally taking your life in your own hands. And I saw somebody, I don't remember how I came across this video, but I came across a video recently, just blew me away, of a woman who is a Christian in North Korea. And she wrote about part of her story, and they were able to record this. This isn't obviously actually her, or she would be dead already. But this is her story. And I want you to listen to what it's like for her to have Jesus as her master in this world. Take a look.
형제님 보시오. 우리는 주님의 은혜와 여러분의 은혜로 평안하게 잘 지내고 있습니다. 이 글을 쓰는 이 순간 내내 마음이 무겁습니다. 우리가 결코 보답할 수 없는 선물을 여러분들에게서 받았기 때문입니다. 우리가 갖고 있던 성경책은 발각되는 순간 처리되었습니다. 그리고 우리는 그리스도인이었기 때문에 머나먼 곳으로 추방되었습니다. 이제 결코 도망갈 수 없게 되었습니다. 여기서 일하는 것은 힘이 듭니다. 배급도 충분하지 않습니다. 우리는 항상 배고프고 더 아픕니다. 여기서는 살아남기 위해서 스스로 먹을 것을 찾아 나서야 합니다. 그러나 매일 아침 눈을 뜰 때 주 하나님의 임재를 느낍니다. 여전히 주의 종으로 섬길 수 있도록 강건하게 하시는 우리 아버지 하나님께 감사드립니다. 사람이 떡으로만 살 것이 아니요 하나님의 입으로 나오는 모든 말씀으로 살 것이라. 어려운 기회로 최근에 국경을 넘어 다른 그리스도인들을 만날 기회가 있었습니다. 그들은 저에게 음식과 약도 주고 또 주님의 은혜로 성경책도 주었습니다. 그곳에 있었을 때 더 머물 수 있는 기회가 있었습니다. 제가 자유로워질 수 있는 순간이었습니다. 그러나 저는 저의 가족과 교회를 저버릴 수 없었습니다. 아무리 작은 교회라도 말입니다. 여러분의 입장에서 보았을 때 우리가 고통당하는 것이 저주처럼 보일지도 모릅니다. 그러나 우리는 이것을 축복으로 압니다. 아버지께로 가는 지름길이기 때문입니다.
Did you see those comments? Every morning when I open my eyes, I feel the very presence of God. And even though what we would look at as a curse, she considers a blessing because it's connecting her to the Father in such transformational ways that she doesn't regret it. She literally has a chance to leave, and she stays. You think about what Jesus offered and how people like this are experiencing in this world today. You're talking about unending joy. I don't know if you could see the joy on her face when she met that Christian in the woods to read the Bible. Peace that rules your heart, which is a promise. Blessing in the middle of suffering. Experience of the presence of God. And most importantly, personal interaction with God. This is just part of what will happen when Jesus is your master. Part of what he's offering you. So some people hear this and they're like, oh my goodness, this sounds too good to be true. I've chased what the world has to offer. It doesn't satisfy me. It's never enough. I want Jesus. Great. So here we go. How do we get that? Well, you have to make Jesus your master. You have to make this decision that he will become your master. And again, the parallels in the movie were so incredible about this when I saw this, and my wife pointed this out. So if you've watched the movie, you know what happens. Before Mr. Miyagi begins training Daniel, he says, we have to make a sacred pact. He said, I promise to teach you karate. That's my part. You promise to learn. And then he said, my favorite line, I say, you do, no questions. I say, you do, no questions. And Daniel enters into it without understanding and no context. Again, for us as Christians, we understand this is a discipleship relationship. This is the the commitment of a disciple. A disciple is a learner, a student, an apprentice. Somebody said it's someone who attaches themselves to a teacher in order to become like them. That's exactly what Jesus asked for. Jesus asked us not to be fans or consumers, but to become disciples. Someone described it this way: discipleship is not casual admiration, it's a decisive choice to follow Jesus with your whole life and to make him your master. And that's the word in the New Testament repeatedly used. One time Paul wrote the book to the church in Colossae, and he was writing to them, and among the many things he said, he wrote to people who owned slaves in that day because it was just a part of that. And he said, now that you're a Christian, he said, I want you to do this. He said, I want you to provide your slaves with what is right and fair because you know that you also have what? You have a master. You have a master. And so we need to make this adjustment. And so it becomes this. It becomes this. Jesus, I say, you do, no questions. So, are American Christians known for this? I mean, some of you just big reaction to that, right? I mean, we can obviously personalize it. Is this what I'm known for? Is this what you're known for? But is this what American Christians are known for? No, it's not. We are not just devoted to what Jesus said and did, to serving like him, to loving like him, to forgiving like him, to his words, to living this out. And the reason is because we haven't made that first commitment to make him our master. In American Christianity, what we accept is Jesus becomes our vending machine. He becomes our personal assistant, but we're still the master. Because when people hear about this, they become scared and they want to know, well, what's he going to ask of me? What will I have to give up? And make no mistake about it, in Christianity, if you really become his disciple, you will have to give up. Look what Jesus said. I've quoted this verse so many times over the last 5 months. Jesus said to them all, if you want to be what? My disciple, then you have to deny yourself. You will have to give things up and take up your cross daily and follow me. And taking up your cross is saying to God, it's not my will, it's yours. That's what the cross is. It's not my will, it's yours. And that makes it hard and scary for people because they don't know what they're going to have to give up. But here's the truth, and this just dawned on me this week. It's because we won't die that we don't live. That's critical that you understand that. Because we won't die to our will, to our way, to what we want, then we don't move into the life that Jesus Christ promised over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Was that North Korean woman living for herself or for the will of God? She's alive, more than just physically alive. Literally wakes up every morning. How many of you would wake up every morning in circumstances like that with depression, anxiety, not want to get up, not want to get out of bed? Many Christians who live way better than she does have all of those things in their life every single day. Why? It's because we won't die. We will not die. We want to hold on to our lives, our way, our future, and because of that, we miss out on everything that he's offering, the real life, which is joy and purpose and power. That's what he's offering us, and we won't have it till we die. So I put this on your notes, and I want you to really seriously think about this. It is a prayer of commitment that you can make to God. Say, with this vision of where you want to take me, Jesus, I make you my master. I agree to the terms of this discipleship relationship. You say, I do, no questions. Could you sign it? Could you sign that? If not, what holds you back from signing it? The reality, of course, as Jesus said, it is a signature that's required every single day. It is daily. I re-sign up for this relationship every single day. And I make this decision. I wholeheartedly make this decision every single day. This is what I want. I want to be his disciple. That's what I want more than anything. So great. So that's all there is to it. Now the good news is, if you do this, everything will start going right in your life. All your problems will disappear. You will never have anything bad happen again. You will only have good things happen to you. Isn't that wonderful? Right? That's the concept of American Christianity that we project. And so many false teachers in our world are saying that. Just follow him and he'll make you rich, and just follow him and he'll make all your problems go away, and just follow him and it's like nonsense. That's not it at all. As if something on this earth is the treasure. He's the treasure. He's the treasure, and you get him. But the trick of this, and this is what I think the movie does so good, is you got to learn to trust the master when things don't make sense. And this is where I just thought the most profound parallel between what happened in the movie and what happens in spiritual life is that I really wanted to talk about. You have to trust the master when things don't make sense. So Daniel says yes to this discipleship relationship. He says to Mr. Miyagi, I make that pact with you. You say, I do, no questions, and immediately he starts teaching him karate, right? Is that what happens in the movie? No. Immediately he says, wash the cars and wax the cars. And by the way, you can only wash and wax one way. You got to wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And he's like, okay. And he spends the whole day doing this. He's completely exhausted. He comes back the next day and he says, great, now sand the floor. And there's only one way you can sand. You got to sand the floor this way and sand the floor this way. And he has to sand the entire floor. He's completely exhausted. He comes back the next day. And he says, good news, paint the fence. And you can paint up and down this way, and with the big boards, do your right hand. The little boards, use your left hand. Same thing, up and down. He has got to paint the whole fence, and he is completely exhausted at the end of the day, and he comes back, and there's a note on the door, and it says, hey, now I want you to paint my house. And paint my house this way, right and left, and that's all you can do, and spend the whole day painting the house, and I'm going fishing. So he went fishing. And Daniel loves the experience, doesn't he? He loves it. He's so happy to be a disciple of Miyagi. He can't wait for the next day when it's pull the weeds, right? Pull the weeds, right? I made that up. But if you know the story, he doesn't enjoy the training, does he? It's like, wait. And what happens in the story, right after this moment in the movie, is Daniel turns around, he blows up at the master, he turns around, and he walks away. Now here's why this is so important you understand this. You know, I've been the pastor of a church since 1991. I can't tell you how many times I have watched Christians, people who loved God, who read their Bible and prayed, and they were actively involved, and they invited people to church. I can't tell you how many times I've watched those people walk away from God. They walked away from the master. Over and over and over again, I've seen this, just like in the movie. Now, what was happening? Well, what was happening is all discipleship relationships are built on one word. It's built on the word trust. That's what they're built on. Matter of fact, Jesus said there's nothing more important than faith or trust or confidence. And so in this, if you want to read a really interesting book about trust, this is one of my favorites. Stephen Covey wrote a brilliant book called Trust, and he talked about 4 things that have to be present if you want to trust somebody. All of you have experienced this your whole life. First thing is integrity. Are they being consistent with their words and actions? Have you ever been in a relationship with someone and discovered later they were lying to you? Did you trust them? Of course not. Trust is essential for relationships. And when you discover that trust is gone, what happens to the relationship? It's over, okay? Next is intent. Do I believe that their motives are genuinely for my good and not for themselves, right? Have you ever felt used by somebody? You ever have someone take advantage of you? Ever have someone take credit for something you did? Did you trust them after that? No, the relationship suffered, right? In some way it fell apart because you have to have these things in order to have a trusting relationship. So how about competence? Can they do it? You think of it this way. Let's say that tomorrow you get a call from your doctor, and your doctor says, I'm so sorry, but we need to do a triple bypass immediately, or you're not going to make it. And I hear the news, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I care so much about you, I volunteer. I'll do the surgery for you. Okay? Should you trust me? No. If you trust me with that, you're going to be with Jesus real quick, because I have no idea what I'm doing, right? I may have the other ones, integrity and a positive intent, but I do not have competence. I'm not competent as a heart surgeon. Now that you don't have to really worry about it, because the moment they put the scalpel in my hand, I'll pass out. But other than that, I mean, there's no competence there. I can't do it. And how about results? Can they get results? This happens every single year in sports, in the sports world, right? Any Bears fans here? I mean, immediately, every year, they lose trust in their team or their coach or their quarterback. Why? Because they don't think they get the results. So, matter of fact, I'm a Badger football fan. And every Badger football fan is asking the question right now, can the head coach actually get the results we want from him? And there are a lot of people saying, nope, he cannot. Because the results on the field never change. They're always bad. What will happen to him if the results don't get better? Gone, right? Happens in the sports world so easy. We judge people by results all the time in the sports world. but we judge him that way in the real world. So here's what's happening again in the movie. I make this vow, this sacred pact, and you say I do, no questions. And then it hurts, and it's painful, and it's not getting anywhere. And he's doing all these chores, and all of a sudden he's just ticked, and he's ready to walk away because he no longer trusts Mr. Miyagi. Now, when you look at that list, which of those 4 is the primary causes the primary breakdown of trust? Now, you could make an argument for all 4 of them. But there's one that's really key. Intent. Why is he having him do all this? Because you want a slave. It's not about my good, it's about you. You're getting something from me. You're getting your cars washed, you're getting your fence painted, your house painted, you're getting all this stuff done, you're getting free labor. This isn't about training me, this is about you getting what you want. And he's done, and then Mr. Miyagi says, stop, turn around. He says, show me, paint the fence, and all of a sudden he can do karate, right? Show me, wax the car, and all of a sudden he can do karate. And he almost missed out. If he'd have walked away without listening, he'd have missed out because he stopped trusting. Now, this happens, like I said, in Christianity all the time. The truth is, some of you used to be closer to God than you are right now. But something happened, and your trust in God has been damaged. You have pulled away. Maybe even completely walked away, although there are tons of people on Sunday morning that woke up this morning that used to really pursue him, that don't pursue him at all. Some of you know people like that. They've walked away because they stopped trusting the master. Because something was happening. And it really impacted their willingness to be his disciple. So here's why, God is crazy good and does things in my life all the time that tie into what I'm learning. So many of you know I was supposed to be here. If you're watching online, you don't know this, but I was supposed to be here last Sunday teaching, but something happened in my family that was pretty painful. Many of you know, and I've talked about it openly, my mom has Alzheimer's. It is progressing rapidly. And then my dad has made a vow. He will not put her in a nursing home. He takes care of her completely. But he had a medical emergency, and it required surgery. We didn't know what the outcome of that surgery was going to be. So my sister, brother, and I went up, and we took care of Mom for days. While he went through the surgery, we brought her to the hospital and back. It was almost 2 hours over and back one way. And her Alzheimer's is very progressed. So at one point, she called us her siblings, not her children. So she repeats herself constantly. She has 2 stories she tells all the time. If you just wait 2 minutes, she'll tell the exact same story over and over again. And it's surreal to look at someone that's your mom and know it's physically your mom, but it's not your mom anymore. And if you've never experienced it, there's no way to describe the incredible pain of it. Now, thankfully, I have the ability to compartmentalize, and I can be in the moment and do what needs to be done. And yet, when I came back from that experience last week, it overwhelmed me. And I did not want to pray. Quite honestly, I didn't want to pray. Every single Sunday, almost every Sunday since March 20th, I've put the insert in your program about surrendering to God. I updated it and put it back in today. It's in there. And every morning, my habit is that I will take out I have my prayer notebook, and I have that out, and I pray through it, and I just didn't want to. Thank God, I was literally writing this message. So I started thinking, well, when we lose trust with God, that relationship falls apart. This is why some of you don't pray. You don't trust him. That's why some of you will not surrender. You don't trust him. Or you've tried that surrender thing, didn't really have any impact. You know why? Because you don't actually trust him. You will never surrender to a God you don't trust, ever. You will never surrender to a God you don't trust. This is critical that you understand this for your spiritual journey, or it will derail you. So I walked through those 4 elements of trust. And I literally just typed it all up. And I walked through integrity. Do I actually believe that God is who he says he is? Loving, powerful. I love that 3rd word. At some point in the future, I will talk to you more about present. How critical it is that God is present with you at every moment. Okay? So do I believe this? What about his intentions? Do I trust that God's heart toward me is good and that his motives are loving? Remember what love is. Love is to will the good of another person. I will the good for that person, not bad. That's what love is. Evil is willing the harm of another person. What about competence? Can he handle what I'm facing? The truth is, I can't ever remember doubting the competence of God. The more you learn about how God has created this universe, how could you ever doubt his competence? He's unbelievably powerful and wise beyond our wildest dreams. But what about his results? Will he help me and specifically my mom and dad in the middle of all this? And when I stopped and I thought, what am I really struggling with? Why do I not want to surrender this one? Do I trust that his heart is toward me and my mom and dad is good? Is that his motives are good? Does he really intend to carry us through this with his life, through this with his love? Because at times it feels a little bit unbearable. And how about results? Is he actually going to help us with this? Grace is God showing up in your life doing what you can't do. What's he going to do in the middle of this? What's he going to do? And all of a sudden, when I really thought about this from this perspective, I realized why I was pulling away from God. It was because I was questioning, can I actually trust you? And that's what some of you are asking today. You got hurt. Or you're being hurt now, and you're saying, God, can I actually trust you? So I knew what to do, thankfully. I've talked about it many times. You reaffirm your trust in God when things don't make sense. You reaffirm your trust in God when things don't make sense. And so I wrote out a prayer that became incredibly important to me. And by the way, all of this is on the back of your notes. All of this is on the back, including this prayer. And this is the prayer that I began to pray that completely changed my feelings toward God. I said, Father, I know you have integrity. You cannot lie. I know you have a positive intent in mind and plan to show your love in this somehow. I know you're competent. And you know how to get results. I believe all those things. So in the middle of this, before I even see how, I say thank you. I know that as I trust you, I will see your goodness. And I just began to pray this. And it was immediate that he changed not my circumstances, although my dad's doing really good. Thanks to everybody who's been praying about that. He's doing really good. Nothing about the circumstances has changed. But all of a sudden, peace and joy and a love for God were restored to me. Some of you, you're just struggling with this whole idea because you don't trust him. And it's time to take a step of faith before you see what he does. So do you see the value of making him your master? Do you see the value? Do you see he offers you things you will never get in this world, ever? You can never have them. They are found only in him. Do you see the value of making him your master? And have you made that discipleship decision to say to him, you say, I do, no questions? Are you at that point? And here's the question I really want you to think about. Has the suffering in your life affected your trust in God today? Has it affected it? So that you just don't really trust him like you used to. You got to sort that out. And think about which of those things has been affected. For many of you, it is the intent. Just like it was for Daniel in the movie, just like it was for me. It's like, is he actually a God who loves me and loves my mom and dad? And then reaffirm your faith, which is confidence in the trustworthiness of our King. That's the step we take. Let me have you bow your heads as we finish today. What I want you to know is that he is a God of incredible love. I mean, the love was proven to us. Why in the world would he send his only son into the world to die on a cross for us just to let us struggle and fall in this world without him? He would never do that. It doesn't even make sense to say it. So the first decision we make is to receive Jesus Christ as our Lord, as our Savior, the one who saves us from our just consequences for the unloving things that we've done. And some of you made that decision, and if you haven't, you can right now with your head. You can say, Jesus, I put my trust in you, and I ask you to forgive me. The Bible says that he died on the cross and paid that debt for us so that we can be completely forgiven. But some of you, it's time to make a different decision today. It's time to make him your master. Because the truth is, life isn't working out the way you've been doing it. Your will is not resulting in joy and peace and the power of God. It's not resulting in freedom. And it's time to make a different decision today. And you can make that decision today, the start of it. You can say to Jesus, you say, I do, no questions. Father, I pray for each person here that you would show us very clearly what our next step is in our relationship with you so that we can have the life that you said we could have. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this service today. We hope as a church and pray that this was something that really helps connect you deeper to Jesus. That's what we're all about as a church. If you need to communicate with us, if you go online to penuelchurchlife.com, in the upper right-hand corner is a box that says, I said yes to Jesus. It also says, please pray for me. Just click on that, and it'll take you to a place where you can communicate with us as a church. So if you ever want any of the resources we mentioned in a service, go there and let us know. We'll gladly send them to you. Or if you made a decision to say yes to Jesus or you have a prayer request, just let us know. And we're always glad to hear from the people who are watching online. And if we can continue to help you grow in your faith in any way, then we want to do that. So again, thank you. And our prayer is that you continue to grow and connect and find the true life that Jesus Christ is offering.